Hello, it's Poli here doing something I've never really done before. Then again, these dumb battle cats make me do things I never thought I'd be doing, so I want to talk about the Warrior's newest arc, The Broken Code. I don't think this is going to be an ongoing thing on my channel. Mostly I just draw and animate the cats and post them in the internet. But right now there's just so much. I want to talk about so much, and I want people to talk about it. And I feel like a conspiracy theorist right now, but with cats. Fictional cats. Before I begin, I want to give you a solid spoiler warning for this new arc, including the newest book, Below Shadows. Another warning, I'm gonna be cursing a lot, and I mean a lot because holy fuck this book. I started reading it this morning at 7 a.m. and I finished it around 12 p.m. And there's so many clusterfucks I need to talk about, and for me, to talk about something in my channel is unheard of. Mostly because I'm extremely self-conscious of my accent when I speak, because English is not my first language. So that's how invested I am in this. My point here is not to talk about the entire mess this arc has laid before our eyes, but mostly to talk about the main antagonist and his identity. Probably you've seen multiple videos or tweets or whatever talking about this, but I want to speak of it and lay the details I found myself, because if I don't, I'm going to lose my mind. So, to summarize the plot as best as I can, the conflict right now in the clans is that absolutely no one can contact StarClan or even reach StarClan after death. Bramblestar dies in the first book of this arc, due to some manipulation involving Shadowside, Medicine Cat Apprentice, Dovewings, and Tigerheart's the second son, and a mysterious cat spirit that wants to punish all those cats who have gone against the warrior code in one way or another. Then it's heavily implied that this cat possesses Bramblestar's corpse and poses as the true Bramblestar and ThunderClan's leader. Yet sharing the same ideals of punishing codebreakers with exile and being uncomfortably close and relying on Bristlefrost, Ivy Pool's daughter. Rootspring, a SkyClan cat and Violet Shine's son, has the power to see those cat spirits who are trapped in the living world and cannot go to StarClan or the Dark Forest. Rootspring is also the only cat who can see Bramblestar's real spirit and help him get his body and life back. The main antagonist is obviously Bramblestar's imposter, and nobody has any idea who he is. But the first two books have been dropping hits back and forth for us to pick, while the entire book, Below Shadows, just deadass hits us in the face with the answer, though it's not 100% spelled out just yet. The entire Warriors fandom as of now just knows the imposter is Asher. And if it turns out not to be Asher, I'm gonna be incredibly surprised because I have no idea who else this fucker could be. At least not with the clues we have right now. So I'm gonna go through the clues and link them to past scenes and information we've had from previous arcs, and try to tie everything together even though the answer is incredibly obvious at this point. Let's begin with the first book, Lost Stars. The problem with not contacting StarClan has been established, yet Shadowside, as an apprentice called Shadowpaw, has a vision given to him by a cat spirit who claims to be a StarClan cat. Yet Shadowpaw cannot see the color of his fur nor the iconic stars covering his belt. This vision shows a gigantic fire dividing all 5 clans and flame engulfing the lake. Then the passage describes ash falling onto Shadowpaw's fur and covering him with dark flecks on his belt. And with this scene only, it is painfully fucking obvious who it could be referring. I mean, who else is deeply linked with fire and dark flecks on his belt that look like ashfall? Later in the book, Shadowpaw mentions Bramblestar to the cat spirit for some reason or another that I cannot for the life of me remember, and the ghost proceeds to mock Bramblestar in a way that seems to be very personal. In the second book, The Silent Thaw, we start to get more hints and it gets very disturbing. Bristlefrost, being Horizon ThunderClan, sees with content Bramblestar being so close and lovingly with Scarflight, to the point where Bristlefrost mentions they rarely leave their den together, and Bramblestar setting all deputy duties on Bristlefrost. You know, Scarflight's duties, because he wants Scarflight to fulfill her duties as his mate. I cannot explain to you the way I gagged when I read that scene. I was in class and just the implications are so disgusting and so gross, and I hate it. I'm gonna be honest and tell you I don't remember exactly much of The Silent Thaw, as I've only read it once and it was back in November. But I do remember there was this one scene in The Silent Thaw that I don't see many people talk about and it's bugging me so much. After some shenanigans with our main trio, Squirrelflight and Leafstar, Bristlecroft makes her way to Bramblestar's den and overhears Bramblestar and Squirrelflight arguing, where the fake Bramblestar is being so fucking disgusting and creepy towards Squirrel, and when Squirrelflight tries to defend herself, the impostor yells at her and his voice changes. Bristlecroft freezes in her place because it's not Bramblestar's voice, it's a voice she doesn't recognize. Then Bramblestar proceeds to exile Squirrelflight from ThunderClan with deep pain in his heart for betraying him. His voice actually changes, and while we don't see Squirrelflight's reaction, we know it's not a good one, though we don't learn much about it after she is exiled. He also tries to kill Sparkpelt, Squirrelflight's daughter, by leading a pack of dogs to her with a prey scent trail. Now, in the third book, Below Shadows, shit gets real. Shit gets another level of disturbing, and I'm still processing it. I just finished this book today, and I'm just so shaken up by it. It's so... oh my god. We have so much more information about this villain to the point it not turning to be Ashfur, I will crawl into a hole and die there for letting myself get so hyped up with this theory. Anyway, so I'm gonna speed through all the blood information we have now, in hopes it makes sense or something. Bramblestar, not Bramblestar, is miserable. He has stopped cleaning his fur, he has stopped using his leader role, and he just stays in his day all day whining. I mean, same, but still. He also hopes to find any scent of Squirrelflight even though he banished her because, as Bristlecroft notices, he misses her. Bramblestar, not Bramblestar, tells Bristlecroft multiple times that he really loves Squirrelflight, that he hopes she would come back, that Squirrelflight is special. When the impostor sends Bristlecroft out to find Squirrelflight and bring her back to ThunderClan, Bristlecroft and Mothwing help Squirrelflight fake her death so the impostor stops looking for her. When the impostor sees evidence provided by Bristlecroft, he actually chokes in grief and becomes even more miserable. On the other hand, when Shadowside is trapped between worlds of the living and the dead because he's dying due to some infected wounds inflicted by the impostor himself, he goes to Bramblestar's den, where the impostor admits he can see Shadowside's ghost, saying he can see him because he might be linked to the cats he's killed, or because, quote, spirits can see other spirits, end of quote. Then the impostor spirit slides out of Bramblestar for a moment, and Shadowside sees his true form. While Shadowside is unable to see the color of his fur, he can see his eyes clearly. They are dark blue. Shadowside asks of Bramblestar's real spirit's whereabouts, and the impostor says he shouldn't worry about him, that Bramblestar won't ruin his plans again. When Shadowside demands for answers, and when Shadowside himself says that if the impostor is a spirit, then he must come from the Dark Forest or Startling. The impostor replies, saying, quote, there are ways to move between those worlds if one is clever enough, end of quote. After a major battle between all 5 clans, the impostor is held captive in ShadowClan, and when he's about to pass out, he tells Squirrelflight he came back for her. The book ends in a cliffhanger, when Squirrelflight, during a gathering, tells everyone with a look of horror she knows who is possessing Bramblestar's corpse. So let's recap. The villain has ongoing fire and ash flex motifs. He mocks Bramblestar and seems to hate him. He claims he loves Squirrelflight and grieves when he believes she's dead. His voice changes to a voice Bristlecroft, a new warrior, does not recognize. He tries to kill Squirrelflight's daughter by luring dogs with prey scent. He could be a cat from either StarClan or the Dark Forest, and claims he's clever enough to walk between those 2 worlds. He's confirmed to have dark blue eyes, says Bramblestar will not ruin his plans for a second time, and finally tells Squirrelflight he came back for her. What do we know about Ashfur? He's a grey cat with dark spots on his fur that look like ash flecks. He tried to kill the 3 during a fire to harm Squirrelflight. His mother, Brindleface, was killed by Bramblestar's father, Tigerstar I. In a similar fashion, the impostor tried to kill Sparkpelt. He conspired with Hawkfrost to kill Firestar, but Bramblestar ruined those plans for the both of them. He allegedly loves Squirrelflight and hates Bramblestar for stealing her away from him. He hates Squirrelflight more for rejecting him in the first place. He has dark blue eyes, and he was confirmed to be a Startling cat in the 4th arc. So, with all these clues, it will be pretty safe to say it's Ashfur who we're talking about. Yet, a few questions are raised. How did Ashfur end up in StarClan? Is it true a Startling cat can go willingly into the Dark Forest? And is Ashfur working alone? Ashfur ending up in StarClan is something that causes a lot of controversy to this day, and I don't blame anyone for it. Dude who tries to kill 3 young adults during a fire just because his ex didn't sleep with him, ending up in cat heaven is just ridiculous. When Jay Feather, one of the cats Asher attempted to murder, questions this, Yellowfang says the iconic phrase, "he only laughed too much." While Blue Star, and not many people talk about this, Blue Star says Startling works in mysterious ways, and maybe Asher found his way up there. I know in Squirrelflight Super Edition, Squirrelflight and Leafpool are put through trial to decide whether or not should they belong in StarClan. And while this is canon, I would think this is a new way StarClan operates. Either that or they just put them through trial just to be mean, because then neither Blue Star or Yellowfang will be in StarClan if they were put through trial. They did basically the same Leafpool and Squirrelflight did, if not worse. So I'm gonna throw that information in the trash. Blue Star tells Jay Feather that maybe Asher found his place up there. Maybe he's made his peace and no one knows and no one can question StarClan for it. In A Veil of Shadows, when the imposter tells Bristlefrost to bring Squirrelfright back, he says even StarClan finds forgiveness. So maybe, just maybe, Asher really just sneaked up his way in StarClan, or maybe he was put on trial and he deadass lied to God. I don't know. We might find out this in future books though. Can a Startling cat go willingly to the Dark Forest? Yes, and we've seen this before with Spotterleaf and Flametail. Spotterleaf goes to the Dark Forest in Arc 3 to take J-Paw away from Tigerstar the First and Hawkfrost. While in Arc 4, when Ivypool is ordered to kill Flametail's ghost, Flametail seems obviously confused, as he is a Startling cat and got missing and ended up in the Dark Forest. So either by accident or by pure knowledge, a Startling cat can go to the Dark Forest. In Veil of Shadows, when Shadowside is between life and death and is hanging around as a ghost, he falls inside the moonpool and ends in the dark forest, where he sees a pool of stars covered in the bramble thickets and ivy. A barrier between StarClan and the rest of the cat world, trapping all the Startling cats inside the dark forest. Shadowside realizes a cat will dead, and that cat could be very well Asher. But that leads me to my last question. Is Asher working alone? Up to the second book, there was little implying Asher could be working with someone else. But at the same time, it makes sense because how could Asher trap all of StarClan by himself? Now, with A Veil of Shadows out, we could say Asher is not working alone at all. When Bramblestar, not Bramblestar, is being all sad and whiny in ThunderClan, Bristlefrost questions the imposter's motives. He obviously loves and misses Squirrelflight. Why did he send her away in the first place? It made it seem he is not enjoying being a fake Bramblestar, and Bristlefrost wonders, why is he doing this if it's not making him happy? And here I wondered myself, is another cat making him do this? Later in the book, Bristlefrost goes to Bramblestar's den again, just to listen to the imposter arguing with someone else. "How dare you question me?" he snarled. "I'll show you. I'll show them all. I'll make them regret what they've done to me." Bristlefrost peeks into the den and realizes no cat was with Bramblestar. Yet, he was bristling and angry and clearly arguing with somebody else. So, is this Asher? Very probably yes. And if he is, that will make him one of the greatest villains in Warriors history. Is he working alone? Probably not. While he is a solid villain, he couldn't block all of StarClan by himself. Even Tigerstar the First and the rest of his army couldn't do that, and he was one tough motherfucker. That's all I have to share, and I am very, very, very fucked up by this book, and I am so glad I let it all out. It was ending me. Please feel free to comment and debate with me. I'm having lots of fun with this, and God, I need answers. I really hope you can understand what I'm saying, because it's honestly been a while since I engaged in a conversation in my second language, so it was a bit difficult for me to record this, but I really hope you can understand me. I'm gonna keep trying to upload more animations soon, or at least some speed paints. I miss drawing and animating for myself, and hopefully I can find some time now. Love you all, and thanks for watching. Please take care.